What's good, family? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Thomas and I'm a photographer based out of Fort Worth, Texas. So at the end of last year, my wife and I took a trip to California to see some family up in the high desert. Now, if you saw my last video, you'll see that my wife and I had stopped in Sedona, Arizona, which was honestly an incredibly inspiring stay where I took some of my favorite film photos to date. I'll link that video up here. Now, as a whole, the entire trip was pretty significant to me creatively, for a couple of different reasons, because it taught me a bit about myself as a photographer and some areas that I am still looking to improve in. Now, coincidentally, my wife and I had stayed in the same place at the end of 2019 as we did this past year. I had noticed a lot of things had changed for the better. You know, I obviously began this YouTube channel back in July of last year. I started taking film photos more consistently, and my wedding photography business really began to pick up steam here in Fort Worth, Texas after I moved. And over the past couple of years, I started to realize why I wanted to take photographs. It was something that really brought me a deep and meaningful sense of purpose. Now, with all that good stuff, I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't areas of improvement that I had also recognized. And I'll say this, a lot of the time that we were in California, which was over about a 4-day period, I did feel pretty uninspired. And most of the time that kind of stemmed from just not being confident in taking a photograph or seeing a composition that I just felt like wasn't really worth a frame, essentially. And when we were up there, you know, there's going to be beautiful sunsets, and there was beautiful sunsets there. I took a few photos of that, which I was pretty happy with. The Mamiya 645 did really well with those. And with that, the place that we were staying had a very unique style to it, or very much high desert feel, a bunch of random things in the backyard. So I began to kind of reflect over the past year, and during my time in California, I had begun to realize that taking film photos had a bit of an unnecessary side effect that was kind of self-inflicted. The best way I can explain this side effect is that well before I would take a photo, I would kind of overthink a composition or really analyze whether or not I'm going to use this picture, if this picture is going to have any value to me. Basically just ask myself, is it worth it to take this picture right now? Now, this had left me feeling a sense of apprehension basically every time I wanted to take a photograph during that stay. Now, after thinking about it quite a bit, I began to realize that this is all an internal conflict, basically about moving out of my creative comfort zone. Now, going out and taking film photos, being vulnerable with you guys here on this YouTube channel, that makes me a bit uncomfortable, if I'm being very honest with you. Now, this is a good thing because generally speaking, when you're uncomfortable, it means you're experiencing some sort of growth. I think a lot of us can feel uninspired at times, but really I think what we're feeling is just a little fear to get outside of our comfort zone, to take that risk. There's one thing that I'm going to explain to you. When I'm taking photos with this camera, there's so many times where I'm like about to take a picture and then I don't. And it's like that living on the edge of like taking a photo and not, you feel regret a lot more. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that some of the best photos you're ever going to take come from you stepping outside of your comfort zone. Now, at this point in the trip, kind of towards the end of it, like I had mentioned before, I'd started to realize this and I wanted to kind of put that into practice. We'd gone up to the mountains up in California. It was snowing quite a bit up there too. And I kind of just had this sense of, you know what, I'm just going to take photos and I'm going to try and make things happen. So in West Texas, on the way back, my wife and I pulled off Route 66 at this abandoned gas station. And the whole time there is this fear of like, I'm probably just wasting time here. What if there is no cool compositions here? But I fought through that and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna try and make something happen here. There's these giant windmills all throughout West Texas that were right there. I knew I could take some photos of that. But when we pulled off, there was pretty much this small town. It looked abandoned. There wasn't really anybody on the roads. But we saw this abandoned gas station, and I also saw these super old cars. There's one car that looked like Mater from Cars, that had a bunch of signatures on it, which I thought had a lot of character to it. Took a few photographs of that. Saw a couple of different shops that were closed, but again, had a lot of good character to it. Overall, I was super happy with these images. Everything just kind of came together in terms of putting that to practice with this stop in West Texas. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching the video and getting a bit of perspective to where I'm trying to improve creatively. So if you felt like you've got something of value from this video, please leave a like, comment on it. I appreciate it when you do. But I think that's all for today. As always, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.